Hello everyone, I'm Patricia and this is Get Conscious Now. Welcome. And guess what everyone, tonight's show, we're coming to you live from the TVSB studios because tonight is our first live telethon. This show, we're in our third year in this show, and tonight is our 32nd show, so thanks so much for tuning in. And it's wonderful to be right in your living room tonight. So the vision of Get Conscious Now is to make a global impact, to build a better world by raising consciousness. That's our vision. And our mission is to explore the true nature of our physical reality and the practical implications for living a more mindful, happy, and joyful life. In other words, really helping us own our true nature as spiritual beings having a human experience with this innate and measurable power to create our reality, which we're doing all the time. So we have a studio audience here tonight, and I just want to welcome you all. Thank you very much for being here and supporting us. And it's wonderful to have your energy here tonight because it really adds to the excitement of the show. You can actually feel the excitement in the air. So thanks so much for being here tonight. Tonight's show is on conscious wealth. And it's a very appropriate topic for the show, obviously. And our guest is an expert in this area, and you're going to meet him very soon. But right now, I have the pleasure of introducing my co-host and partner, Stu Zimmerman.
Patricia, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Stu. Always a pleasure with you.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome everybody to Get Conscious Now. This really is a program not just simply about the mind of consciousness that we think about when we think about being conscious, but it's a full-bodied vibrational experience. And what we're talking about tonight is wealth, which is a vibrational presence we'll get into very shortly with our guest, our special guest tonight. But this is also a fundraiser for us because we've been doing this now, as Patricia said, over 30 shows on YouTube, including Deepak Chopra and Reverend Michael Beckwith. We've had over 100,000 views, and we're growing. And this is a conversation and a program that really needs to get out there. So we're really asking you throughout this program tonight to call in at the 302-440-4268, which happens to be GCN 8. But again, that number is 302-440-4268. And show us who you appreciate and really let us do even more of this on an ongoing basis and expand into new markets and new production and everything else. So please be generous, and we'll do our best to be appreciating you and sharing with you a kind of wealth that money can't buy. So feel free to stretch a little bit tonight, please. Yeah. So before we get to our guest and our interview for tonight, we have a word from one of our sponsors.
If you are passionate about your message, if you want your book to be the best it can be, and if you want someone to do it for you with your collaboration every step of the way, then Ellen Reed is the one for you. Get Conscious Now is proud to be sponsored by American Riviera Bank. It's our bank, and we feel good about it.
You know, from my observation and my experience as a spiritual seeker for as long as I can remember, the worlds of money and spirituality have not been in sync. In fact, I was raised in a family where success equaled money, period. And if anyone chose to pursue a career in service, and certainly in the spiritual work, then you could almost be guaranteed not to have wealth in your life. So these two worlds have been segregated, and it's really time that they come together. It's very important that people that have devoted their lives to doing spiritual work can also be able to really come into the balance of wealth, and also people who have focused on primarily generating wealth in their lives, that they could really come into balance with consciousness. So tonight what we're going to be doing is seeing how both of those worlds can be merged together so that wealthy can have an opportunity to become conscious, and those of us who are spiritually inclined can have an opportunity to be wealthy. Our guest tonight is Seth Streeter, who is the CEO and co-founder of Mission Wealth, a company that is committed to financial planning and investment for high net people throughout the country. He has several locations throughout the United States, and his focus is not only serving his clients to the max as far as an ROI, but also to really help them come into a more conscious approach around money. He has quite a list of credentials, and I'd just like to highlight a few of them here. Please forgive me for reading. He's been featured as a financial expert in many national publications, including the Wall Street Journal, Money Magazine, Forbes, CNBC Online, and Investment News. In 2008, he was ranked by Worth Magazine as one of the nation's top wealth managers. What I find very impressive is that he's also a thought leader in the area of conscious financial planning. He helps people reframe their perspective of wealth beyond just the financial to enjoy more balanced, impactful, and fulfilling lives. As such, he was recognized by Real Leaders magazine this year as one of the top 100 visionary leaders who strive to create a better world through his efforts in this area and socially conscious investing. He is also an active member of the Santa Barbara community, and he's been involved with many organizations. Here are too many to mention, so I invite you to go to his website and check out his Santa Barbara connections. So Seth is the perfect guest for tonight's special telethon. I'm really delighted to have you here, Seth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Really
it's my pleasure.
Your time.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
So I'd like to kick off our interview with this question. What is your greatest passion about your profession that sets you apart from other wealth managers?
Well, I would say that my passion is connecting to people in a very deep way. And I find that money can oftentimes be a portal to more discovery and for people to find greater meaning in their life. So rather than staying on the surface level conversation of someone coming in saying, I need to get a 6% return, by not having an agenda and by being really open and present with them, oftentimes you find that you just peel back the layers of the onion and they are thinking about how they really want to retire in a couple years so that they can spend time with their wife who maybe has health issues, or to have time to learn how to play guitar, which they've always dreamed of, or to take a trip, and maybe to volunteer with special needs children. So it's not really about the 6% return, it's about them kind of finding deeper meaning and purpose in their life. And through presence and I would say conscious financial planning, it's just such a privilege to be a catalyst for positive change in people's lives. And I would say that's really what sets us apart.
Great.
Well, Seth, I got to tell you something. I got to applaud you because, I was a money manager in the stock market back in the day, a hedge fund manager no less. And I know what you're talking about in terms of, the conversation around money can be so intimate, where people are more willing to talk about their sex lives than they are about their money lives, which is incredible right there. But the idea of going and breaking out the boundaries of wealth that people think of in dollar terms, to go far beyond that, why don't you elaborate a little bit on the different aspects of wealth that you share and explore with people?
Well, people usually think of wealth as being about money, about financial abundance. And so if a man, just as an example, or woman, let's say was worth $25 million, which is a lot of money, but they're out of shape and overweight and they can't climb 2 flights of steps without being winded, and they go home a stranger, disconnected from their family, and they can't sleep well because they have a lot of anxiety and stress, would you still call them wealthy?
I don't. I just say they have money.
Right.
Yeah.
So society has defined wealth based on financial abundance. But actually, I've looked at wealth in a lot of different areas, and it's really incredible when you help people kind of uncover the stories that they've been playing inside their head that oftentimes they picked up from early childhood, and how that's really holding them back and also hampering a lot of their relationships. They might have issues around control or guilt or fear with money. And so helping them kind of become more empowered in their mental state around money then can have a lot more abundance in their lives, and then helping them do that in a lot of different dimensions of their lives just is so rewarding.
We have this Share the Wealth Foundation. It's an educational foundation that actually sponsors this program. So anybody who calls in will actually be making a donation to Share the Wealth Foundation, specifically for the project known as Get Conscious Now. And the tagline of Share the Wealth Foundation is, wealth is a rainbow, money is a color.
Indeed.
And it goes directly to your point of really starting to branch it out. So how do you work with people a little bit and to get them to start to, kind of redefine wealth, or to get them in touch with the feeling of wealth, which is like, a feeling of abundance and more than enough, rather than, having it be simply quantified?
Right. It is a vibration that people have that carry, and I've seen people worth 50, 100 million who really carry a vibration of lack. And in my world travels, I've seen people with very little. 50% of the world's population lives on less than $2.50 a day, and a lot of these people are actually pretty content.
When I was in Costa Rica, I saw that.
Yeah.
It was amazing. These people that were living in their homes were just like shacks on the side of the road with dirt floors, and yet the people themselves were just so happy.
Right.
It's
really
amazing.
Interesting.
It is.
Yeah, so a lot of it is, I think, for the professional advisor, and this could be for an attorney, an accountant, a financial advisor. It's really letting go of that left brain thinking, that task-oriented nature that we're trained to really tackle problems and dive in, and being much more open, being really present, and creating that safe place for people to then also open up and tap into these other dimensions that maybe they've been ignoring. I always call it the need beneath the need. How do you help them tap into the need beneath the need?
It's kind of like an unrecognized need almost. They have that need, but they aren't necessarily aware that they have it, or they kind of feel like they have it, but they really don't know that they deserve it because they've been too conditioned to the treadmill.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think people have just kind of become detached. They go to work, they grind through. Life is just a series of routines. It's Thursday and I go to the gym, and it's Friday and we watch a show, and 1 week turns to 1 month, turns to 1 year. And they really never hit the pause button, reflect and say, am I in a career that I love, that's leveraging my strengths? Am I living where I want to live? Am I, capitalizing on all of my assets, not just my financial assets, but my intellectual capital, my goodwill capital, the connections I have, my artistic capital? So what are all the different forms of capital or assets that we have that we could better deploy to really live a more aligned life?
So is that something that you've created, some kind of either intake or something
Yes.
like that, where you
So that's
gather?
the process, yeah.
Yes.
We've defined wealth in 9 different areas. And so we've gone through these 9 different areas, and I don't know if we have time. I'm happy to explain a little bit
If
more
you
about
could just
that.
go briefly through them, I
Sure.
think
That'd be great.
our audience would want to know.
Okay, sure. So one of the 9 is obviously finance, so what's your abundance there. Another one is the impact that you're having on the planet. A lot of people want to leave a legacy and know that they're making a difference. Another one is relationships. How wealthy are you with your relationships, whether it's in your family or with your friendships? Another one would have to do with your intellectual growth. Do you feel challenged, or are you bored? I spoke about the career. Do you feel like you're in a positive environment? Do you feel like your strengths are being appreciated? Do you feel like you're really making the most, taking advantage of your strengths in your career? There's also your physical wealth. Can your body do what it needs to do? Do you like how you look? Do you like how you feel? There's your emotional well-being. Do you sleep at night? Are you stressed a lot? And then there's the spiritual dimension. Do you have a framework from which to handle the fluctuations in life? So there's a lot of different dimensions of wealth, and I think of it as a wheel, with each of those 9 dimensions being like a pie. And if your wheel is a little bumpy in some areas, then where can you invest energy and time and attention to round out that wheel to have true holistic wealth?
And this is really what you do with your approach to your clients then.
Right.
In I don't remember exactly where I read it, but you refer to the illusion of the Trojan horse. Share a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I feel fortunate in that I'm able to get access to certain types of people that would never go to a self-help workshop necessarily. Right. They might not be even watching Get Conscious Now, believe it or not, but they should be.
Well, let's see what we can do about that.
We're going to see what we can do about that. But
we know you're watching now, okay? So just for the records,
Right.
Listen up.
So I'm fortunate in my different networks that I'm involved with that I have access to some of these people, and I think they probably think, well, he's just like me. He's a white male financial guy, pretty left-brained, buttoned up. He'll talk my talk. And so when I'm able to show up and be open about my own vulnerabilities and get them to really reflect on maybe where they have some disconnect in their lives, then I feel like I'm a Trojan horse, because I can get in and get access to people to then help them hit the pause button, reflect, and make some really positive changes in their lives. And that's really so rewarding for me and for my team.
And what has been their response to you when you...
Oh, they're just ecstatic. They're grateful.
Because no one has ever done that.
Right.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it for themselves. This sounds, I don't want it to be misconstrued, but it's almost like we're giving them permission to live their own life that's waiting to be revealed within them. It's kind of like their higher purpose. They haven't let themselves do it. And so if we can nudge them, in a very caring way toward kind of what their intentioned life looks like, then they tend to be very grateful. And there's a tremendous ripple effect that happens, through their organizations, their families, their communities. When people operate from that place, only good results.
Right.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there in terms of that caring energy. That's the thing that kind of gives them the permission to care about themselves a bit more too,
right?
Which can lead to all of this.
Yes.
So, Patricia, isn't it time for us to ask for something?
For us, right?
You want
a 2-minute appeal.
You want to go for it?
All right. So this is our first telethon, as we said, and we're really very excited to be here. This show is truly about making a difference in the world by helping people become awake and aware that we have the power to create our world. We have the power to choose our life purpose and to be passionate about it, to move forward. We have the power to be wealthy, to be healthy, and all the different categories that Seth mentioned. But we, a lot of times we're just not that present. So this show is an opportunity to really help people become present to the power that we have and who we truly are. And when we can do that for ourselves, and we come together and collectively do that with other people, we build that vibration, we build that resonant field to take consciousness out to humanity. So this show is about bringing this information out to as many people as possible. As Stu mentioned, we had, did you mention we had 110,000 hits?
I didn't mention the exact number, but over 100,000. We're working it.
We have 110,000 views on our website. And that we really want to see to be in the millions. So you can help us tonight by making a contribution that you're comfortable making to Get Conscious Now. And the information on where to call, or if you want to go to a link, a website
the
link.
telephone number is 302-440-4268. That's 302-440-4268. And at different levels of donation, you get various things. So for example, at the $25 level, you'll get a complimentary subscription to Conscious Lifestyle Magazine, an online e-magazine that one of our prior guests, Justin Fairman, is the editor-in-chief of, and it's a fabulous magazine. Just a little kiss on the cheek for a $25 donation. If you want to step up to a $50 level, you may be the proud owner of one of these. I'm not sure which camera's on, we'll go with this one. So yeah, I actually co-authored this, Inner Security and Infinite Wealth, subtitle, Merging Self-Worth and Net Worth. This is the program we're discussing that. Or if you prefer, there's another book offered by Patty DeDominic, one of our partners here, and I don't have the title offhand, but I'm sure it'll come up any moment if the director's listening. So the story is that we have something for you above and beyond what this program has to offer. And what we are committed to here, and I know you can sense this, is that Patricia and I really are here in a labor of love. And it does take a small village to put this program together. Okay, there are people behind the cameras here, there are people in the control booth, the studio, we have an editor who may not be working as hard today, but she already set up the graphics and everything. Point being is that we really want your help because we are in this together. And if we can get a program like this out into a mainstream with more and more eyeballs, okay, this vibration of wealth, this vibration of awareness can spread. And that is a really good thing. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so what is the money used for? I think this is a good question that you might ask. And what we use the funds for are our production costs, and also to expand this program. We are now syndicated in 18 cities throughout the country, and we're really excited about that, and that list is growing all the time. And this costs money for us to do this. So this is where your funds would go for production costs and also primarily for expanding our services. Did I miss anything, Stu?
Well, we're going to be asking for more money later and through the show, so we'll get to more details later. Why don't we go back to Seth and talk with him for a little while?
Okay,
She's
good.
so great.
All right.
I realized I only mentioned 8
Oh, you
categories
mentioned,
of wealth.
I wasn't
missed
counting.
arguably the most important one, which is fun. How much fun? Are you feeling wealthy without the amount of fun you have in your life? That's another really important quality that we
That's
ask
an
our clients.
excellent-
Fun is very important.
Yeah, and not necessarily well modeled by our parents and
Exactly.
and so by our higher
The serious photos that you saw
educational
them in, right.
in MBA school. They really didn't mention fun as one of the curriculum things there.
Right.
You know what I wanted to ask is really kind of a piggyback on the other question we were talking about as far as when you're working with your clients and you're helping them to really get to the need beneath the need.
Mm-hmm.
How many of your wealthy clients would you say are doing their inspired life purpose, would you say?
I would say we are really fortunate. We have incredible clients, and I would say a pretty, I would say probably 40 to 60, 40, 50%, half of them are really close to finding their inspired life purpose. I mean, it can always get more inspired. People can always get more refined and more aligned. But we have a really incredible group of clients. I think maybe they self-select, and with the work that we do, we really want to help people move in that direction. So I'd like to think that hopefully we're helping to move that needle forward for them.
Do you think that these people were passionate about their work and had their life purpose set before they went in and before they pursued their career and made their fortune? Or is it something that evolved?
No, I think a lot of people took jobs because it was what you're supposed to do. And our clients probably on average are in their 50s to 70s is kind of our average age demographic. We definitely have many younger as well, and with millennials becoming much more conscious kind of movers in our society, we're seeing many more millennials coming on board. But for the bulk of our clients, they didn't ask these questions. They started their careers, they started their businesses, they put their head down and they worked hard.
Right.
And tenacity was the badge of honor. They didn't stop, they didn't reflect. It really wasn't about how happy am I. They took the job wherever the job was, and they made their family move there, and that's where they lived. Now people live, they want to move to Santa Barbara, and they will make sacrifices to live in Santa Barbara. They operate businesses mobily so they can have flexibility with their lifestyle. So I think it's very different. I think most of our clients, when they started out, they were putting their heads down, and it was about really providing security for their family and being dutiful at their careers. I think they had a lot of joy out of their careers as well, but it wasn't until they started to kind of hit that midway mark of life that they started to reflect and say, what else is there?
What else is there?
Yeah.
Good. I'd like to address what I spoke about briefly in my intro about these two different worlds, about money and spirituality and the importance of them merging. And how do you see your work addressing the merger of the money world with the world of consciousness?
Yes.
Not that you can't have wealthy people that are conscious and also spiritually focused people. I mean, many exceptions. There are many people like Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson and a slew of others that are very, very wealthy as a result of their spiritual focus. But how do you see that happening in your work?
Right. Well, I think there is a common perception that there really are two main camps when it comes to money. There's those who are financially successful, and the price tag for that is maybe they become a little bit imbalanced. You have to be kind of stressed. Money is serious business. Careers are serious, engagements. And so they've maybe lacked some of the balance and ease in their life. And then there's the other camp, which are people I'd maybe define as being more artistic or spiritual. They maybe have a daily yoga or meditation practice, and they want to have financial abundance. They might have the vision board, they might have the daily mantra, wishing in financial abundance. But a lot of them, or the perception I think also is a lot of them, they struggle to make their basic bills covered each month. And so I think the answer is helping people first understand that you can have both. You don't have to have one without the other. It is possible to be very financially abundant and balanced and happy and living a purposeful life. And so, we help people kind of walk through some steps to move in that direction. And so a lot of it has to do with first understanding what is the story in your head, the story that you have to only work and your self-worth is based on how much income you earn or what your balance sheet looks like. And you don't have to be happy because your 401k is up one day and sad when it's down. But there is that camp. And so it's helping them understand the tape, or the other tape they might be playing is, I don't have enough, or money is bad. I don't want to be part of this whole money equation, so I'm just going to remove myself from it and thus have a struggle with money. So by helping them change that tape to having more of an empowered mindset, they then can have a real honest assessment of where they are in life. And they can look at their assets financially, their cash flow, understand, okay, where am I today and where do I want to go? And what is that roadmap to get there between here and there? Where I am today and where I want to be. And that's where the financial planning is really important. But then it's also about helping them develop that plan and then break it down into bite-sized pieces that they can implement, so that it's like a flywheel and they can start to get momentum and they can start to see progress moving toward their goals.
Do you see a difficulty with people kind of turning off that tape, or at least being open to hearing a new one, in terms of,
Yes.
It's
hard.
And because you typically work with people of high net worth.
Yes.
So they would probably be on this one side of the camp where they've been more of the hard charging, more of the, possibly type A, but certainly kind of gung ho on the treadmill. And, so that's a camp that may possibly be able to loosen up a little bit.
Yes.
To hear a voice that says, you know what, you get to have more than money.
Yes.
You actually get to enjoy your life, and then you get to show up with your smile on the face and your casual, calm demeanor, and everybody wants to be you.
Well, it's interesting. What I would say really helps people with this kind of awakening, if you
Yeah.
will, oftentimes is a blessing in disguise, because it comes from people having life events. So as a firm, we specialize in helping people with what we call life events. So you're just retiring, you're just selling your company, you've just lost a spouse, or you've just gone through a divorce. These are really traumatic events in people's lives. But the opportunity side of it is, it also is a time to really reflect and go, wow, what's it all? Why am I here? What's it all for? You know what? Is this path that I've been on the path I want to stay on? And so because we see a lot of clients who are coming to us at that kind of big transition point in their lives, I think they're more available to have some of this reflection and some of this coaching to change the tapes.
Talking about the tapes, I think we need to address that, because it's not just about a person consciously saying, well, I choose to be wealthy. And again, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, creating our reality with our word, right? Our word is vibration, and it affects the quantum field about what we're thinking. But we have these subconscious programs. Most people are not even aware of subconscious programs that are triggering them, with that lack consciousness, or not feeling good enough. I think that's probably the root cause of a lot of people's issues in life, is that feeling of not good enough and not feeling enough. That shows up then in their problems. And everyone doesn't have financial problems, but everybody has something going on. It could be their health, their relationship, their career, or their money.
Right.
So particularly around money, though, the program, that lack program, is challenging to shift. You can choose to shift it and want to shift it, but if you've got something going on in the subconscious around it, it's difficult. How do you address that, or do you?
Well, we do address it, and I think a lot of it has to do with fear-based thinking. So if people really don't know the reality of how much they need, how much they spend, what their financial situation looks like, then they just are going to default to that fear-based lack mindset. So by helping people look at reality and really understand where they are, what they have, and how they can live within their means and have a sustainable retirement, that really helps them go, okay, I'm looking at the actual facts now. It's not my tape that's playing these really scary stories in my head because, you know what, I don't want to eat cat food one day. We actually had a client who was worried she was going to eat cat food one day, that she was going to just run out of money. And so these aren't, rational thoughts that people are having.
Right.
So by being able to show them, here is the reality of where you are, it does really help them look at the reality, and then to have an ongoing kind of coaching process so that they can stay informed throughout the course of the year. That helps them stay on track and not kind of fall off the ledge into that fear-based thinking.
Well, let's talk about another form of reality here. This program doesn't have to have lack, does it?
No.
No. So part of this program today, and thank you, Seth, for bringing all that up, is that, please, many of you have $25, $50, $100, or even $250 or even more to donate, and you won't be eating cat food. We're pretty sure on that. So we really are inviting you to call that number, that 302-440-4268. Yeah, that's it. And I'm sure there's a graphic that will back me up on that. Because this is a conversation and this is an energy field that really does need to get out there into a world that is really obsessed with shock and horror and, and superficiality. And we know that there's more to life than that. And if more people, and especially if you are Seth's clients or Seth's clients to be, then by all means, please consider sharing some of your wealth with Share the Wealth Foundation, which supports this program. And Patricia, you want to add a few words in terms of some of the levels of what people can get, let's say for a $100 or $250 donation?
Yes. For a $100 donation, they can get a private hour session with Robin Eschler, who is a media expert and specialist, and she can really help you to get very clear on your business, and particularly around crowdfunding. She's an expert on crowdfunding, and she can sit down with you and see what you might be able to do to move your dream, your vision about your work to a level of funding through crowdsourcing. So that is for a $100 donation, and for $250 or more, she can sit down with you in a session to really help you move your business forward with social media and everything that has to do with social media. She's a social media expert, and she can really help you come into alignment with your goals, your visions, your dreams, and your life purpose. And another gift is going to be something that I'm offering for $250 or more. I'm going to be offering a private session with me. I'm a spiritual counselor, coach, and I actually work with tarot cards. And a lot of you in the audience have, in the viewing audience at home, and several people here as well, have had sessions with me. You know, we have all our answers within us. Cards are pieces of paper with pictures on them. There's no power in cards. And when we can turn within and ask ourselves a question, we're asking who? We're asking that place in us that is spirit, that place in us that is the essential self. And then pick a card intuitively face down. We're always going to get the perfect card. Always, always, always. And I always say that to my clients. You're going to get the perfect card. I may not, because I'm fallible, give you an interpretation that's going to be necessarily correct. But I would say that after almost 20 years of doing this work, that my track record is pretty good. So I would love to sit down with you for an hour and a half. It's recorded, and I also write it up. And this is the perfect time of year to have a session with me as we wrap up 2015 and go into the new year. Okay?
Yes, in fact, I had a reading with Patricia once. She told me I'd be in the media.
I did.
There you go, 1 for 1.
Well, I have to tell that story. Actually, Stu and I were romantically involved in the very beginning. And I was giving him a reading. I know we're telling. Oh, we'll spice up the show. And I was giving him a reading on his birthday, and believe me, it wasn't showing up that we were going to be romantic partners. But I really got this hit that he was going to work with me in the media. And so we started playing with the cards that way and going within and asking the question. And you were a little bit resistant in the beginning because you didn't quite know how that was going to happen. But then things moved forward, and as it turned out, I ended up calling him and inviting him to be my co-host for Get Conscious Now, which is the new show. I mean, which we started 3 years ago as a new.
It feels new.
Show. It feels new. Well, it is new.
Yes.
It is new. Yeah.
So why don't we go back to Seth and let's talk more money.
Okay, good. So, as an important part of your work, we were talking about this, is to help people find their inspired life vision. And you have this wonderful diagram that I really enjoyed working with myself. And could you share about that with us, about the 4 circles, 4 concentric circles?
Absolutely. So there's 4 circles that I've found really help people kind of put a framework around where their inspired purpose might reside. And if you think about them on top of each other, I'll do up here, the top left circle is really your personal gifts. So those things that come really easily to you that you just love to do. And people have always asked you to do this thing because you're just great at this thing. So your personal talent, your personal gift. And then the top right circle would be your skills, your training, your education, what you've been groomed to do. So your knowledgeable area. And then your bottom left circle would be your passion area. What do you love to do? What just lights you up that you would do if you had all the money in the world and no one was paying you, you would do this thing. And then the bottom right circle would be based on really what the world needs most. What does your family, the community, or the world really need most? And if you look at where those 4 circles intersect, that can be your inspired life purpose. And as you're sitting here, talking about this show, I would love to make a contribution. And for people who make a $250 contribution, I'm happy to give them my worksheet that helps them define and kind of identify their own. inspired life purpose.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank
Sure.
you. That's wonderful.
So I'd love to maybe share a story that might bring that home a little bit.
Please.
So I was a number of years ago asked to go work with a potential client who said they wanted to be able to retire in 5 years. I want to retire in 5 years. Could you come to the home? I have all my paperwork there and show my wife and I how we can do this. I said, sure. So I drove down to their home and had all the trappings of success, the fancy cars in the driveway and the beautiful estate home. And when I walked in, they quickly shook my hand. He goes, here's everything that we need to look at. And had all their portfolio statements and tax returns on the table and estate plans. And so I put on my left brain thinking cap and dove in. And as I was speaking to them, I'll call them Bob and Sue. That wasn't their actual names. It was clear to me that Bob was miserable. He was a corporate attorney. He's like, how long do I have to grind through to be done with this? He had back issues. He said he was on planes all the time and it was really uncomfortable for him. And so about 20 minutes into this exercise, I just had to call an audible and say, Bob, it sounds like you're miserable in your career. What do you love to do? He said, what do you mean, what do I love to do? What does that have to do with me retiring? I'm like, well, tell me what you actually love. And he kind of stammered around. His wife, as a wonderful spouse, says, I'll tell you what he loves. Bob, you love history. You're a history buff. You watch the History Channel, you read autobiographies, you do love history. He goes, well, I do love history, but what does that have to do with our retirement plan? And so I kind of played with that a little bit. Again, operating from a place of presence, I said, well, what if you could become a high school history teacher? Well, how would I become a high school history teacher? Our kids go to private school, and look at this house. A teacher can't pay for this. So he had the resistance, the tape, the resistance. And so I started to talk about some of the things that we had spoken of, saying, well, you have this big house. When your kids are out of school, off to college, you could possibly downsize this home. Well, yeah, we talked about that. And you have this country club you said you haven't been to in a year and a half. You could get rid of that. And Bob, if you did something you loved, don't you think you could work a lot longer than 5 years? And so we started to kind of peel back the layers of opportunity here. And lo and behold, Bob became a high school history teacher just 2 years later. And so that was an example, and something to touch on is his wife's passion was travel, and they didn't get to do a lot of it because he was always traveling, he had back issues. So he lost weight, he became healthier, and during the summers now they've been able to do fantastic trips, and he just loves being a high school history teacher. So that's an example where I didn't do anything magical, I was just present for Bob and Sue, but I was able to help him see the need beneath the need and then just nudge him using a financial planning kind of landscape to show him how that indeed was possible. So that's just an example of people can find their inspired life purpose. It's like a treasure chest they're sitting on that they don't know to look within to open. They're looking elsewhere for riches, but it's not on the table with all these papers. It's within themselves.
That's a great story.
It's a great story.
It really is. That really is an inspiring story of inspired life purpose. Again, can you just go over those 4 circles again and the intersection so people can just kind of lock it in?
Right.
Yeah.
So the top circle is your personal gift.
Personal gift.
That thing that just comes easy to you. I can do that. I'm great at that. And then the top right circle would be your skills or training or education, what you've been groomed to produce. Mm-hmm. So if you're an attorney, if you're an artist, whatever you've had education and training. And then the bottom left circle would be your passion area. What do you love to do? What just lights you up that you would do if you had all the money in the world, you would still do that thing?
And sometimes even if you don't have all the money in the world, you wind up doing it. Right, Patricia?
Right.
Keep on going.
But it's that circle. And then the other circle, is really based on what the world needs most. Like what's knocking on the door in your community, in your industry? What does the world need most? Because there's a calling for you there. Yeah. So when you intersect those circles, truly magic happens and people start to go, wow, I didn't realize. Because a lot of times you find your volunteer part of your life is over here, and then you have your work life, and then you have your social life, and maybe your spiritual life. And when you start to combine those, that's when the real synergies, surface.
I was excited about looking at the circles and just going within and doing my own litmus test on it, and I really feel that I can say a resounding yes for each one of those areas,
That's wonderful.
Now I'd really like to bring in the wealth piece.
Yes.
That would be. I want to ask you, Seth, what was your background growing up spiritually that you could, be in a profession that's, so logical, linear, practical, left brain, money, that whole thing, and at the same time have that presence and that passion for really helping people get to the need underneath the need and get to their life purpose and what really lights them up. Obviously your work lights you up.
It does.
Right? Our work lights us up, right?
It does.
Yeah.
So what was your background?
Well, I grew up two loving parents who I'm fortunate are both still alive and wonderful supporters. I would say they were probably in that first camp. They were both kind of in that high achievement, work hard, 6-7 days a week. We always were working, and tenacity was kind of the badge of honor. I always felt loved and supported, but I wasn't thinking about my life purpose, but I did feel through them that I could do anything I wanted to do. So I did feel supported. But it really wasn't until later in life, because I was on this path that was that kind of unfavorable path. I'd put my head down, and at a young age, I got certain credentials, and I built certain financial success, and I bought a couple homes, and I was on that really quick accumulation. I was going to retire by 40. And then I went through kind of my own, tragedy / blessing in disguise. I went through a divorce. I had some health issues, and I had my own kind of spiritual awakening. I went to India. I started learning how to meditate. I really said, wait a minute, what's this all for? Because this head down, achieve isn't necessarily getting me where I want to be. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily how I was raised. I think I had very loving, supportive parents. Mm-hmm. But I think it was really more about my life path and how certain bells were rung for me to have that kind of awakening. And then it was just my joy to be able to share that with others.
Mm-hmm. So can you share a little bit about what your spiritual practice is now?
So I would call my spiritual practice just one of kind of mindfulness. I mean, I operate from a place of presence, as a parent, as a community member. I believe the more you give, the more you get. So I'm extremely involved. Last year I was on 8 different boards and nonprofits.
I know, I saw that. I didn't have a chance to read everything that you do in Santa Barbara.
Right. And I've been involved with some international groups as well, but it comes from a place of service. So it's really about how can I show up for the world every day and be of service. It's not any particular religious denomination.
Right.
It's just it's a practice of service and compassion and caring, and that's how I show up every day. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how the universe supports you when you do that, and doors just kind of open. And so I've with this process with kind of defining conscious finance and conscious wealth, it's been so wonderful because I've always in the past kind of seen my service orientation over here, and then we have incredible, ethical, talented advisors on my team, but that's been my business hat. And so now that we're doing a lot more with social responsible investing and conscious financial planning, I've really seen a merging of these two parts of my life, and that's just wonderful to be in a space where you feel like your service, all my circles are like right in the middle.
So you're connecting the head and the heart.
Yes.
Right.
Well, why don't we connect the head and the heart and our audience
Yes.
to this program in a deeper way, where we get to share the wealth, so to speak, and in terms of finance, and really help to get this program out there, because this is a compelling conversation. And Seth is a fabulous guest. And he's not the only fabulous guest we have. We've had Deepak Chopra on, we've had Michael Beckwith, we've had Julia Loggins, we've had
Lisa
Garr, Barbara DeAngelis.
Barbara DeAngelis was our last guest.
And we've got a roster for 2016 that's going to be outstanding. So, and we need your help. That's the real truth of it, because we want to be in more markets. This program deserves to be in more markets and really be at the nexus point of the 4 circles we were just talking about. Hopefully we have a little bit of talent in this. Hopefully we have a little bit of background in this. It's certainly our passion, and the world needs this on some level. So we're really inviting you and asking you to be generous, to share some financial wealth that you have. In fact, maybe you could be a sponsor for the program, and maybe people you know are better suited to donate as well as you. So feel free to pass us around. And if you're watching on YouTube, because a lot of people do, and we're not being streamed live on YouTube right now, so you're watching a recording, you know what? We'll still answer the phones. And you still get to come to the website and support us. And the gifts will still be made available to you to do so. So we're very grateful to invite you into our family in this way as well.
And so the phone number to call is 302-440-4268. 302-440-4268. And we have people standing by to take your call. So thank you very much for considering a donation to Get Conscious Now. And this television show, any television show that really addresses the topic that we're focused on, is about also transforming the media. All we have to do is watch CNN or MSNBC or, God forbid, Fox News, forgive me, to really see what's going on in the world around politics and the media. I mean, the media is
needs to be transformed. So my personal desire, my passion amidst all of the work that I do is really making a contribution to the transformation of the media. So very important. Can you imagine if there were thousands of shows like this that were out in the internet? And there are many shows on the internet around consciousness, but they're not enough. They're still not enough. We need more television shows like this. We need more people waking up to this conversation, because as we talk about a lot on this show, everything is vibration. So when we're vibrating at a frequency of consciousness, that we are able to create our reality with our thinking, and we can keep our thoughts to be the most positive, peace-loving, loving kind of thoughts that we can feel, then there's going to be a change on the planet vibrationally. And there's such a thing as the 100th monkey. You know, that 100th monkey is that when a thought in a species hits critical mass, humanity, when the thought in a species hits critical mass, that everybody wakes up. So I understand that that's 1/10 of 1% of 7 billion people. It's not a lot of people. It's 70 million people. But 70 million people that are really in this conversation, that really understand that we are spirit and form, and that we have this power to create our world. And it's really about bringing both the left brain and the right brain together, the head and the heart together, and to the best of our ability, living our life purpose. I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. Well, why don't we go back to Seth for a couple moments here and
Okay, great.
and wind up. You know, Seth, we were talking about, you mentioned at the end of your last segment a little bit about socially responsible investing.
Yes.
And impact investing and like. Why don't you mention a little bit about socially responsible investing, just so people can get a handle on what's really available out there?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's actually been around since the 18th century. So back in the 18th century, the Quakers decided they didn't want to have any investments that had anything to do with the slave trade. And so if you look at modern day, it's now actually becoming really a growing area. There's 13 trillion globally in socially responsible investments and impact investments. So what that means is if someone is volunteering in the community, they're buying organic food, they volunteer at an animal shelter, they're trying to be intentional and conscious in their lives. But if their investment portfolio is not reflective of that, because they're owning a pesticide company and they're owning companies that maybe do animal testing, or maybe they own a tobacco company and they don't believe in the tobacco industry because they lost a family member to say lung cancer or something, you can actually align your investments with your values now, both with positive screens and negative screens. So you can actually screen your portfolio so it's fully in sync with your own values. And what's great is that we're finding that there's zero suffering when it comes to return. So there's actually kind of like a karmic support here for people who are aligning their investments with their values. And it's just such a joy to help people really start to go, wow, I didn't realize I could do anything. I thought I just bought mutual funds and my life was over here, and then I volunteer and I try to do good here and I give to charity. Well, you can actually make an incredible difference by making sure your portfolio is both optimized and aligned with your deepest values.
So do you, obviously, you must stress this then when you're sitting down with a client for the first time to really discern what their values are so that you can select the kind of investments that are going to be in sync.
It's not necessarily for everyone, but it's important that people know that it's available. And so that's part of our planning process, is we make sure they understand, here's how you can evaluate different companies, here's the different qualities you can look at: environmental screens, social screen, governance screens. So everyone has their own hot button. Is it carbon emissions? Is it child labor practices? Is it business ethics? So people can really customize based on what matters most to them. And that really helps them feel more kind of vested also in the financial process, because to a lot of people, the financial process feels very kind of intimidating and disconnected.
Right.
So this is a way to feel more connected to your money and to know that your money is doing good in the world.
Right. I'm sure there are some people that don't care. They're just really looking at their return. But I think as we evolve as a species, as we move in more and more into this conversation of who we are and the power that we have, that we can align our values with our money.
Right.
So we've come to the end of the interview. Can you believe
We have,
this?
I know.
I know, it's unbelievable, it goes by so quickly. So Seth, I'd like to end the show, the interview, with one last question, and that is, what would be your pearl of wisdom if you could leave our audience today with something that would be the essence of what your message is? What would you say to them?
Just know that you can align your inner wealth.
The camera's right over there.
Okay. Just know that you can align your inner wealth with your outer wealth. and that you can truly have an integrated life and an integrated career and have more joy, more balance, and more financial abundance. And it's just such a privilege to be a change agent in people's lives to help them realize this possibility.
Beautiful. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Seth.
That summed it up quite beautifully.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
So now it's time for us to hear Stu's views, and I'm anxious to hear what he has to share about tonight.
Okay, well, we're going to make it a brief one here tonight. So for this edition of Stu's Views, I'm really going to go right to the bottom line. And what are we really here for? I know that's a major existential question on some deeply profound level. And yet, as we've been exploring, not as much on this program, but in others, that the true nature of our reality is that we are these energy beings and really interconnected with each other as such, and simply kind of renting these bodies here. What are we really here for? And I'm going to invite you to consider that we are here to love. And we are here to love life. We are here to love the fact that we're in these skin and bones for a limited time only, that we are literally having a vacation from being formless. So it's, why not just live it up? And to that extent, given that this is an energy field here where we're talking about the kind of wealth that goes far beyond money and really inviting that out into the world, I'm really inviting you to share your wealth with us one last time on this program, to come on and make a call or hit the website and just please be generous, because we are on a mission. We are on a mission of love and joy and help to wake people up that, you know what, no matter how much money you have, it's possible. You can have a more loving life every single day if you put your mind to it. And even in the moments of contraction, and even in the moments when we get upset and pissed off and all the rest, they're going to happen. We get to be human here, and energy does this vacillation, oscillating thing anyway. So there's some down moments. But the idea is that if we can tune in to this kind of energy of gratitude and abundance, that there truly is more than enough, and the universe has our back. And baby out there, you know who I'm talking to, Wendy? I love you so much, and that is something that we get to have here, all of us. Not so much Wendy, but the love. We get to have more love in our lives than we ever thought possible. That's what this program is dedicated to. And with that, I'm going to put it right back to Patricia for a quantum quote.
Okay, great. So I have a surprise for you tonight with my quantum quote, and I have a surprise for you tonight, Stu,
Okay.
with our quantum quote. As I was thinking about the quote for tonight, I thought of Stu's book. Would you hand it to me, please?
Gladly.
Inner Security and Infinite Wealth, Merging Self-Worth with Net Worth. And I thought, well, why couldn't I find the perfect quote for this show in this book? And I did. I opened up right to it.
I'm honored.
And as I mentioned earlier, that's how I met Stu, actually. I did a show for many years here on Channel 17 called The Paradigm Shift. And I did a show on money and spirituality. And Stu and his partner who wrote the book with him, Jared Rosen, came on as guests. And that's how we originally met. So the quote that I chose is, personally responsible investing is putting your money where your heart is. Personally responsible investing is putting your money where your heart is. So tonight we talked to Seth Streeter about socially conscious investing, and that certainly has great merit. But where does it really begin? It begins with us investing in ourselves. And when we invest in ourselves, we really got to go within and ask ourselves the question, what is it that I truly want to do? What is my passion? What lights me up? What is such that I get up in the morning and I can't wait to get to do the work that I love to do? That is the most important question that we could ask. So tonight I ask you to go within your heart and your soul and ask yourself that question. Are you doing what you really love to do in your work every day? And if the answer to that is no, then I would have you ask another question. What is my life purpose, my inspired life purpose? You don't even have to know the answer to that question, people. You don't have to know it. All you have to do is be willing to ask it and stay open. Because if you ask it, the universe will bring you the answer and also the path to achieve it. So thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. I want to again put out one last appeal. This show is really focused and dedicated, and our crew, we have a wonderful crew, and every one of us is in this conversation. No one gets paid for this work. What we're asking for tonight is donations that help us to cover our production costs, which is about $500 a show. And also to get our shows out to as many cities in this country as we possibly can. And it costs us money to do that too, about $100. So please help us to move this program forward and really inspire people to not only find their inspired life purpose, but also help other people to find theirs as well. So thanks so much for tuning in tonight. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
As always.
And we're going to connect up here.
Yeah.
And,
well,
right?
Until next time.
Until next time, get conscious now. Looking at the wrong
If you are passionate about your message, if you want your book to be the best it can be, and if you want someone to do it for you with your collaboration every step of the way, then Ellen Reed is the one for you. Get Conscious Now is proud to be sponsored by American Riviera Bank. It's our bank, and we feel good about it.
When I was growing up as a kid, I used to go around with him and watch him.
My mother and I both worked at Lowry Field.
To keep on doing this together.
Welcome to State and Fig, located in historic La Arcada Plaza in downtown Santa Barbara.
Our menu focuses on products that are raised in the state of California, inspired by the flavors of the Riviera.
And we are proud to be sponsoring this program.
I'm attorney Gregory Lowe. I will prepare your trust, bankruptcy, divorce, conservatorship, probate, evictions. All of this I can do at an affordable price and with caring. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kelly Brandenburg. I've been a stylist for the last 15 years. I'm a color specialist as well as I provide a wide variety of other services. You can find me at 19 Blue Salon in the heart of downtown. I'm happy to be a sponsor of Get Conscious Now.